Joshua Blackburn, bringing you another Camp Gym Fireside devotional. I did one on Monday, and if you weren't able to catch that one, I was talking about focusing on what God is teaching you today and not having all this anxiety and focusing on the anxiety of what's going to happen in the future and what could go wrong in the future, but saying today, what is God teaching me and how is that going to help me get through today? My overall theme for these devotionals is God's provision. Recently, God's been speaking to me the most about His provision in my life and how to ask Him for help when I'm trying to make a big decision, whether that be to move somewhere or get a new job or things like that. And so I'm hoping that encouraged you, and the word I'm bringing to you today will also encourage you. Fun story about God's provision in my life that recently happened to me was interning here at camp. I graduated last year in the spring, and I came to work here at Camp Gym this summer as a counselor. And after that, my plan was to go to college and to probably for 4 years and to get a degree in worship arts and biblical studies. I love music, and I wanted to use that for God's glory as much as I can in any way possible. And then after that, I was like, well, maybe, or I'll go to a job and get a trade and have a better job that might be better paying, so then I can set myself up for a better future. But the more that I spent in the summer working here, the more that God started prompting me to say, you should intern it for the year after the summer. And I was thinking, I thought about it, but I was like, well, yes, like that'd be great, and I love camp, but at the same time, I want to feel like I have success. I want right away, I want to get to college. I want to just like set myself up so that I'm able to feel like I can start my life and feel like I, have a sense of accomplishment and that life will go well for me because of how successful I would be if I did this. But time and time again in conversations, not just by myself, but conversations with other people, it just kept coming up of interning here at Camp Gym. And so I did that. I decided, okay, God, you've said it several times, so I'm going to do it. And I've never been more thankful for listening to God for something, because it's been wonderful to be here and it's given me a desire to learn more about God and try and ask God what He wants from me and what He can do in my life before I focus on what I can do. So in the Bible, there's lots of stories about God's provision. But one of my favorites is the story of Joshua, and that comes from the book of Joshua. And I love that book, yes, because also it's named after the Joshua from the Bible, but also because it's full of a lot of encouragement and promises that says, whatever you do, God will be with you. So a little bit about Joshua at that time is, at the start of the book, Moses had just died, so it was now Joshua's responsibility to take care of Israel, to lead Israel and lead them into the promised land. This is just before they had gotten to the promised land. And so the first thing that Joshua does, or the account in the Bible, the first thing that he does is he has a conversation with God. And right from the start, God is telling Joshua, He gives him a promise and His commission and command. That comes from, as I said, the first book of Joshua, or the first chapter in Joshua, verses 7 through 9. So I'm going to read that because that's also my life verses, which are always encouraging to me, to remind me to be courageous in what I'm doing. So verse 7 through 9, starting in verse 7, says, "Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to do according to all the law that Moses, my servant, commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you'll be very prosperous, you'll make your way prosperous, and you'll have good success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So a lot of that in there was just was God reassuring Joshua, whatever you do, however you lead my people, I will be with you and I will give you good success. But He was telling him to focus on God, not focus on how he can lead out of his own strength, but focus on how he can lead Joshua and how He will lead him in the correct way. So the first obstacle that Joshua and the Israelites came to was Jericho. And Jericho was like a mighty city, and it was like the gateway to Canaan, which was the promised land. And so the people were very excited to go to the promised land, but as soon as they got there and saw that Jericho was there, they they might have still been confident that God would get them through as they had before, but how was probably more of what they might have struggled with. And when Joshua told God what to do, and Joshua told the people, we're gonna march around the city once a day for 6 days, they might have been thinking, wait a minute, we're warriors. We're known for being, like the mighty men of God. Like, we're strong. We've taken down city after city. We've gotten to this place. This is our land that God promised to us. So how is walking around the city going to help us? Like, great cardio, God, but how is that going to help us take down the strong city in the land? But ultimately, they listened to what God told them to do. And the result was they got Jericho. The walls literally fell down in front of them. And Joshua said, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. And they shouted with all their might, and God gave them Jericho. And so, but you might think, what does this mean to me? Because I always heard this story in Sunday school, and I loved it. It was cool. There's, about battles and things like that. But what does that specifically mean to you as a person? Why am I sharing this with you? As Christians, when we're faced with trials and things like that, a lot of the time, even though God has given us words in the Bible that promise us that He's going to help us, sometimes we focus more on how we can do things, and it's never what. Sometimes we don't always think, what can God do for us? They say, what can I do to make this go well for me? But the encouragement in this is to ask God, what can you do for me? Not what can I do? So there's two awesome points that I found in here that were really helpful to me that I've been telling myself lately. Is the first one is, even when you're sure that you can do it on your own, still do it God's way. As I mentioned before, I thought I had it all figured out. Like, I was gonna go to college, I was gonna get a job, all these things, but instead I did what God told me to do and come intern here at camp, and I honestly can't thank God enough for that, because it's just helped me in so many ways. The second thing is that I want to encourage you guys with is, just like Joshua, God has promised you the victory over any obstacle that is in your way, even before you get to it. Like, it's hard to think about, because when you get to that thing, maybe it's a move, maybe it's moving jobs, maybe it's a death of a relative or something like that. It's hard to see the end goal in that and how God's going to get you through that. But the reality of it is, God has promised in the Bible, and daily is promising you, whether you're hearing Him say that or not, I will be with you. I will get you through whatever it is and you just need to ask Him. So maybe God's been trying to teach you guys something and lead you in a certain direction recently. I want you guys to ask yourself, are you truly listening to what God is saying, or are you focusing more so on what you can do? Because it's easy to focus on, to panic and be like, okay, I need a plan. This is going to happen right now, or this is going to happen in a few weeks, months, days, whatever it is, and say, I need a plan for this. I need to know what to do, and not necessarily sit back and say, okay, God, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to see happen. Now, what can you do in that between the both of us? I know you're powerful, and show me your power. What can you do for this situation? And so I'd encourage you guys to do that, to focus on God and ask Him, what can you do for me? Or ask God, what can He do for you? And pray and ask God, can you help me to focus on you and not on the trouble and what I can do? And because we're prone to mess up. As humans, we sin. We're prone to mess up on something. But God, being the perfect God that He is, He won't. He will show you what you need to do to get through that and be successful in life. I just want to encourage you guys with that today. And there'll be discussion questions below that you guys can read into Joshua a little bit more. That's all for now, and I'll speak with you guys later. Bye.